Well, I have a sense that non-liturgical art, that is any art that a person pursues, if it's not actually somehow connected to one's own pursuit of the faith, then it becomes a distraction from that pursuit. So, in my experience, I think my initial desire was to become a great writer. I wanted to become a great poet, so I focused on becoming a lover of words. And it was that discipline that taught me a quality of attention to the matter at hand that yielded over time a quality of attention that was beneficial to my prayer life and then subsequently to my faith journey, which led me into Orthodoxy. So I would say that the relationship is utter. It's absolutely close. My sense is that the Christian life is itself an art, and to be understood as a series, a discipline whereby one acquires accomplishment. And my sense is that my own poetry is what led me finally to prayer, which led me and has led me and is leading me more deeply into Orthodoxy. Well, you asked about attention then. I also think it's possible that there could be attention, but that's if I think there have been times when I've registered some tension between my desire for poetic accomplishment, say, and my faith, the development of my faith, the development of my prayer life. But that's only when the wrong kind of ambition snuck in. You know, when it was more a matter of, it's very easy to become distracted, giving so much of your time and so much of your life to an art form, say poetry. One can, if one allows it, become a little discouraged by a lack of response by, say, an imagined audience, or if, but that's almost I would dare say that that's absolutely the result of bad ambition. There's good ambition and bad ambition, I think, and the tension arises for me when I acquiesce to bad ambition, sort of prideful ambition. I think really good ambition is to wanting to make great art, to make a great film, a great poem, a great fiction of any sort. That the thing itself be really well made. And if the attention is on that, the tension doesn't hobble progress. Or the tension doesn't enter into it. The tension occurs when the focus is taken off of the object made and onto the self-making.
Becomes like an idol.
Yeah, very simply, yeah. I think it becomes a matter of idolatry, self-aggrandizement through an art form rather than, which is, I think I had thought to talk about a little bit about my sense about art not being expression, hardly ever being expression purely. But I think that might have something to do with a different question. So should I wait until you ask it?
Sure.
I do think it does hook, but it can't be I think an artist has to be an artist who loves the art, the medium, and understands the medium not as a means of expression, which is what I think the premise in a lot of Christians and maybe even some people who presume to be Christian artists, the understanding is that that medium is primarily an expressive art, an expression of their faith or an expression of their persons or of their ideas. And most generally, I think that's a misunderstanding of what art is to begin with. It's not primarily expressive. It's primarily a means of, it's epistemological, it's a way of knowing. So one becomes committed to a medium, an art form. In my case, it would be the medium of language. So one becomes a lover of language and one who pores over words and learns as many sort of as many languages as possible, so that one can glimpse within, say, an English word or an English phrase, a lot of hauntings of meaning that become connotative, productive senses of things. And if one duly pores over a text that way, as one is making it, one sees what one had not set out to see. And then you know we're in the ballpark of art. I think that's probably true for sculptors or painters or artists of any art, is that if they focus on making the thing great, and if they focus on really learning the stuff of their medium, the painter loves the pigment, the strokes, the brush strokes, the substantive qualities of the medium have to be adored. And in that activity, in that discipline of working with such matter as that, the artist discovers. And then the church benefits. The artist himself, herself, benefits immediately. And then if the church bothers to look or listen or read, the church benefits from glimpsing as well whatever was glimpsed in the making of that artifact. But it's not something, this is I grew up as a Baptist kid, and absolutely this is what was wrong with that, the understanding of that community regarding art, the place of art. Well, first of all, we didn't have much, but when we did, it was pretty cartoonish and always overly determined in terms of its content, and also narrowly determined in terms of its content. So the suggestive, the metaphorical, the connotative richnesses of any artifact not only weren't registered, they weren't even tolerated. At best, it was an allegorical relationship. This is standing for this. And that's a very meager apprehension of, it's a very meager apprehension of art. It's also a very meager apprehension of human life, to have it so narrowly conscribed. But what makes it great is that Dostoevsky does not eclipse human persons and human complexities with types. He constructs persons because he loves persons. Part of his craft has been to study persons. And it's what Bakhtin refers to as his dialogic imagination, right? He has this dialogic imagination about these persons. They actually are in dialogue with him as he makes them. It's not like he's made these folks to stand in for these things and then he just plots them out through a narrative. It's rather, I suspect, that he discovered what his characters were going to do and say as he honored their complexities and imagined dialogically how they might respond to various scenes that he imagined. And that's why it's so true. And as for, coming to the end of your life and having made something that you fear that you will have only made something that, or that you would not have made anything that had to have you to make it. Is that, I'm not characterizing what you characterized as well as you did, but that fear that you aren't sufficiently distinct is, I think, a baseless fear, because you are a human person and we aren't all interchangeable, and your experience that equips you to make your art is guaranteed to be distinct. It's guaranteed to be other than my experience or someone else, or no two of us has the same to offer. And what you need to do is just let the art form itself instruct you as to how to proceed. And it will, and also, this discipline is, there are two concurrent disciplines for the Christian artist. There's maybe only one single discipline for the artist who's not an artist of faith. Well, the Christian artist is concurrently was making two arts at once: the artifact at hand and the continuing artifact of the self. That concurrent dual purpose construction is also what assures that that the art is worthy of a Christian's attention, is because as we work on our own lives as an art, through the art of prayer, say, we become more, our capacities for the discrete artifacts to yield that kind of mystery increases as well. Our capacities increase concurrently with our own development as spiritual persons, as holy persons. So as we proceed, as we progress, the art that we make bears that. But I don't think it's ever a deliberate kind of, it's not like the art is a vehicle for this thing that you think. It's not like you have to pour that into this vehicle and then the vehicle is just whatever art form it is. I don't think it works that way. I think the form itself educes from us an acquisition of knowledge that is not, and maybe calling it knowledge is too strong a word, because in my experience it's never like a sure thing. It's always this glimpse, making a poem, glimpsing something. It doesn't quite say it, doesn't quite satisfy, but it's sufficiently close to give a kind of joy of expression. Finding oneself saying what one didn't know to say is joyful. Knowing that it never quite says it all is triply joyful, because you know that there is a God who's leading you along, and there's always more of Him to be revealed, to be discovered, to be received.
Redhead boy becomes a red